If we reflect upon the great timeline of human history, we can see that it is accented with great monumental moments, from the invention of the wheel, the construction of the great pyramids, the countless wars and pestilence, and great feats of science and technology. Some of these monumental moments have been groundbreaking, others have been tragic. But whether or not such moments have brought about happiness or grief, they all have one thing in common. They are catalysts for great change. As human beings caught up in these events, it forces us to evolve, and we find ways to adapt. Now, once again, we find ourselves thrust into an age of uncertainty. The novel coronavirus. Part of the current navigation of COVID 19 is the theme of self isolation. The world is keeping still and insular. How can we learn from this situation? How can we adapt and evolve in a positive way? This is a great opportunity to dive into our inner worlds and into our dreams. More than ever, we have the chance to reconnect. Welcome to the inner worlds of self-isolation, where we will be diving deep into our amazing potential as conscious dreamers during these times when we're safer at home.
Welcome to an alternate reality.
A completely different dreamscape we've entered.
Some would say nightmarish.
Yeah, definitely surreal.
It also feels a little bit like a liminal space because we're all effectively on hold. So it feels like an in between state, a
Yeah,
little bit astral, a little bit ghostly as well. I find that it has very similar feelings to the astral plane.
We're in the waiting room.
Yeah.
yeah, very literally, even.
So, what have you guys been up to during this past, very life changing 2 weeks?
I've had a lot of movement going on, even though we're told not to move around. But I left the UK for the States right at the end of February, just before all of this stuff kicked off, to do a 3 month tour in the States. And of course, as things unfolded over the course of a couple weeks while I was in California, it became very clear to me that, oh, this is big, and I better get myself out of here. And then going back to the UK didn't seem like an option because things started to ramp up in the UK. So made a quick decision to fly to Canada before all the borders closed and before everyone was told to self isolate. So that was a good decision.
Yeah.
And it was sort of something I took very seriously too, because I had a kind of precog dream last year about this whole thing.
Oh,
Yeah, you did.
yeah.
So that all of a sudden jumped into my mind. And I was like, damn, where's that dream? Because my dream journal from last year is back home in my house in the UK. But then I remembered that I had emailed the dream to a friend because a friend had appeared in the first part of the dream. So I just went through my phone and I accessed it. I found it. And it was so strangely enough, I had the dream the very same day, a year later. I had the dream on the 27th of February, and I flew out of the UK on the 27th of February, the year later.
Wow.
So, but yeah, it was basically a dream where I was in like a mystery school. In it was very close to being a lucid dream, because you know when you get that dream state where everything is so hyper real and vivid, and you're so
Mm-hmm.
but you're more of an observer. So like almost like a schooling or teaching dream, but it did actually take place in a school where I was rushing about to get to a class. And then I got to this huge marble room, but there was no one in there. but I felt like, oh, the class is about to start. And instead of a big chalkboard, there was a huge hologram that I was looking at instead. And in the hologram, I was shown all these molecular structures, like seeing cells, like you would through a microscope. And then I was shown all this like code. So it was all like these, like a mathematical equation as well, and all these numbers. And then I was getting this this kind of telepathic information. It was like it's hard to explain. It was just like I guess a download of sorts. But I was basically said a lot of people are going to perish from this. And then was given a date, and I woke up. But the date, it was a future date, and I had written it down in my dream journal, which is at home in in the UK, but I didn't include it in the email to my friend, and I didn't include some of the other details because I didn't want to freak him out. Like, I hate doing that. I hate sending a dream that's all like really creepy and doom and gloom. So I withheld that information, uh, sending it to my friend. So I still can't really recall what the date was. It was a future date,
Wow.
but I felt really compelled to send that dream to this friend. Funny thing is, he never wrote back. Like, I've not heard from him. Like, in the whole, like, didn't write back from that dream. I have not heard from him
He's
since
like, fuck your dream.
maybe. And I was just like, a month went by, 2 months. I was like, oh, maybe that was a bit much, Tree. Maybe you shouldn't have sent that dream. Like, maybe it was a bit too creepy. But I'm kind of glad that I sent it because it is I do have a record of it now, being sent to somebody else. And so in a way,
plus you never really know what a dream means to someone that's in it. You know what I mean? When somebody sends you a dream saying you were in my dream.
they kind of go, oh, why was I in your dream? And he was in the first part of the dream. His role in my dream was when I was traveling to this mystery school. So he was on the train. So I was looking out at the landscape, and then I turned to look inside the train. He was sitting across from me, and I was really surprised to see him. Like, oh my God, hey, what are you doing here?
And
so,
what kind of a friend is he? Like, how would you describe him?
He is a person, like, not very, like an acquaintance. So not somebody who is extremely close. So that's why I was so surprised. It's like, oh, this is somebody who literally probably hardly had any exchanges with. So any of that, I found that interesting. I mean, I don't really feel fearful. I feel like with a lot of these cognitive dreams, there's no fear attached to it. It's just like, it just is. You're observing it from a state of neutrality, and there's no extreme emotion attached to it. And so when all of this started to develop, I don't really have a lot of fear around this, what's going on. So it's just very odd. But
in the Tibetan tradition, Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche talks about when you have these premonition dreams, that it doesn't necessarily mean that it may even happen. And of course it might, but that all of the karma is in place for it to occur. And what we choose to do with that information we're given is what's much more important, because our minds are constantly trying to predict the future. And you're very powerful, Tree. That's an amazing dream. And what's been bringing me a whole lot of peace is remembering that no dreamer controls the dream in the same way that no sailor controls the sea.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why how we treat our dreams is how I've been treating this life right now, Alejandro. Like you mentioned, I've been allowing it to unfold. And like I would a dream or a nightmare that I'm in, because that's when things shift, not when I'm attached to like aspects of it. Even my discomforts and annoyances surrounding the subject, it's kind of just like a part of me. But there's another part that's always witnessing the unfoldment and even my own behavior, and wondering, okay, that was a weird behavior. Let's, next, you know what I mean? And then I become really present at some point. It goes in and out, up and down, but for more pockets of time than usual, I become really present and hyper focused.
Mm.
And something is really getting clear inside of me, and I don't quite know what it is. For pockets of time, I do, and it seems to get clearer and clearer as I focus more and more unintentionally. It's almost just like coming out of me, this focus. And I've been writing a lot, so that's how I've been dealing with all this. Besides, I have my family and I'm homeschooling full time, and my husband is remote working, so it's all on me, the parenting for most of the weekdays.
Mm.
It keeps me busy and present, with the daily life of the things I have to accomplish. But nonetheless, that's always in the background, is just this unfoldment, this almost like a positive vibe. Like, I know that I go through distress, and I get sad and I cry and then I laugh. All these things are happening, but the underlined uh, constant feeling that I have is a good one. Like, very deep, deep, deep inside, and I'm wondering, where does that come from? Why am I um, happy? You know what I mean? Why am I happy in the
Yeah.
depth of my soul? There's something interesting right there, because I know that what's happening is also annoying me, and I am sad and I'm grieving. But what is this strange happiness that is flourishing inside of me?
That's great, though. I mean, that's probably a true connection to yourself, to source,
The present,
the
yeah,
present, to
And I think it's totally healthy to feel the full range of emotions.
yeah.
I've certainly been trying to make the most of this time. Um, I'm a massage therapist, and so I obviously haven't been like massaging anyone, and I teach at a school, and they closed. But now that I have all this extra time, I found myself more creative, um, and doing what I can to do what I love.
like you're navigating. That's what you're doing. You're like seeing where it's
Right.
going to take you.
And
Mm-hmm.
back to the metaphor of, the sailor at sea, the dreamer and the dream.
Mhm.
Especially in a time like this, it's very easy to look out at the whole ocean and say,
Yeah.
holy shit, this is insane.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And to shift that perspective instead to my own boat, my sails, and really abandoning all the other things that are outside of the control, which is just so much noise, really.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important, to stay informed. And I still like to keep, a pulse on what's happening. But I had been before this a person who listened to the news a lot. And right now I've really found myself avoiding a lot of it. And I'll take
Mm-hmm.
in a little bit, but I've just put so much more attention to the things that I can control.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, all goes down to energy. What are you putting your energy towards, and your focused and your present awareness?
Well, the energy
Um,
of the news, it's very clear what that is.
oh, for
As,
sure.
Yeah.
as, as soon as you even glance a title, I know what I'm going to feel. And I'm just like, oh, skippity doodah.
Hmm.
Yeah, and when you feed the energy of fear, it just amplifies and amplifies. And I'm actually quite concerned for a few people that I know on Facebook, where their posts are increasingly getting more and more like crazy fear. Not crazy. That's not a nice way to say it, but fear based. But it's becoming all encompassing, and it's it's worrying when you
I
see
think
people.
I think it's a balance, really, because there's also people who are absolutely fearless, and
Yeah.
even just
Yeah.
and that causes problems as well. In
Yeah.
Chicago, they closed the lake. They closed the lakefront and a lot of the popular parks because so many people were out. They don't have any fear, they don't have any care
Wow.
or precaution, and that's also very dangerous. So there's a fine line
Yeah.
of understanding the seriousness of the situation without panicking.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
totally. And also, um, I've noticed that I don't know about you guys, but my intuition has increased
Mhm.
because being aware of what people are posting, I I'm my subconscious is avoiding being fed all that stuff.
Mhm.
And so before I even get on social media, I kind of sense what's going to be there and who not to read about and who to unfollow for 30 days. And it's almost like a inner navigational system of uh surviving these days has clicked on inside of me, and I kind of know how to navigate this intuitively now, like reading something without reading it. It's getting really good.
I think we have a beautiful metaphor here for the boundaries that we're setting with everyone self-isolating.
Mhm.
We have literally created some boundaries, and that's shown me where I need to place boundaries. How much of my time am I giving to something else, which feels a lot easier to do since I'm just at home all the time. I don't have the sharper contrast of physically changing to a different setting, to my workplace, to my friend's house, where it's easier to maintain those boundaries.
Yeah, totally. And um more and more, I feel like we're all just adjusting to the beginning of this. And it's been 2 weeks since, we've all been indoors, so to speak, around 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And I already see the shaping of social media changing, the landscape of it, where people have gone through that fear, the initial fear, and now they're starting to get creative with their time. And working as a collective together, giving each other assignments and doing things virtually together, and somehow it's really bringing people into a different level of intimacy and acceptance, which is interesting.
Yeah, I feel that a lot. More people connecting online, connecting with relatives that they hadn't seen in a while. um, Zoom. I've been like FaceTiming a lot more people more often.
I feel
And
like when all of this is over, I'm just gonna go outside and hug every stranger I see.
yeah,
They'll be
I know
like, "What
people
the
are
fuck,
definitely going to
lady?"
want massages.
Yeah. You're going to be busy, Ale. There's going to be like a lineup around the block.
Oh my god, you're in the right profession after this is done.
After this is done, yeah. I'm going to need a million massages.
I know,
Yes,
right?
right.
So how have you, I went through a 1 week of nightmares when all of this began,
Yeah.
and then it shifted, and now they're weird, very astral, like Teresa.
Yeah.
A few sleep paralysis, which I never get. So that's been interesting. But now it's back to compensatory. How do you say it? Compensatory dreaming.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Like I'll have dreams where I'm like, and if you know me, whoever knows me out there, that this is not who I am, but I have dreams where I'm like in a mini skirt and like feeling sexy and like going partying and dancing, and I'm just like, I wake up like, what the fuck? Like I'm usually the nun in the corner, So it's almost like this other side of me is like, no, dude, have fun, let loose. Like my dreams are making me use this other side of me, which
The extrovert is screaming to get out.
yeah, and it's having a nightlife apparently.
That's good fun.
When you can't go to the club, bring the club to
Yeah,
you.
I'm like,
Doing
stop.
the club.
I wake up like, Jenny, what was that? Like showing off your legs like that.
Amazing.
Your cleavage. What the fuck?
The dream cleavage. Yeah, the dreams have changed a lot. Like I've had the same. I've had like a lot of sleep paralysis. I've had a lot of astral stuff, and the lucid dreams are happening a lot. And I think mostly because in my dreams, basically this whole COVID thing and the social distancing thing has been a tremendous trigger for lucidity in my dreams, because I'll be having a dream And in the dream, someone will come up to me like, hey, and they're like, getting physically close. And I'll be like, wait
Oh.
a minute. I'll be like, wait, no, social distancing. And I'm like, oh, I'm dreaming. I've been having so many lucid dreams.
It's like, don't breathe on
Tons.
me.
And this has been the trigger for lucidity, because basically the reality in the dream state, it's breaking all the rules of what we're told to do. So it's making me become conscious and aware in the dream state. So I had one last night. I've been having a lot of, when I go lucid in my dreams lately, I've been doing a lot of flying. So I've been flying over buildings and over cities, and they're empty. And I was flying over New York City last night, and it was empty. And the last lucid dream before that, it was flying over like Chinese cities that were empty. And so there's been just a lot of flying over empty cities with my when I go lucid. But yeah, you can use the fact that our reality right now is one of social distancing and use that as a trigger for your lucid dream state. It's been
And Tree, I've heard a few people mention that their lucidity has increased as well.
yeah.
So you're not alone there. It's definitely maybe people are becoming aware, and we are in a dreamlike reality right now. I never thought I would be in this situation.
Yeah.
This is a
I don't
world.
think anyone did.
No, this is the whole world has a common enemy. I don't know what else to call it, like some kind of an event.
Well, it's
And
interesting, isn't it? We've all been forced to question the nature of reality right now. All
yeah.
of us.
And
Like
nobody, there's no country exempt of this virus, like maybe a little island somewhere. But for the most part, the whole world is affected. And this is the first time that we've all been affected together.
it's on everyone's radar. And having said that, I've had a few people get in touch with me saying, "Oh, I've experienced a mutual dream with like a person, or like an
Wow.
ex-girlfriend, and what does this mean? I've had 3 of them. We've shared 3 so far." And so I've noticed an increase. Well, I can't really back up the data, but just from a few people getting in touch, that it seems as though mutual dreaming is on the increase as well, which is
The minds connecting, yeah.
yeah, the collective unconscious. And it makes sense if we're all going through navigating the same nature of reality right now with this.
Well, I have a theory why that is happening, because we're in the unknown right now, with no set solid future. For the first time in a long time, or for the first time ever, maybe, where we can't really project too much into the future. This is when co-creating happens. This is when creating and manifestation happens. When we let go and we let the universe, guide us or bring us what we're supposed to. I think this is why I've been feeling that weird happiness inside, because I know that this is the point, of the real creation. It's when you're completely detached. You don't know what's going to happen, but you're almost just like there's a gap that wasn't there. We were probably attached to a lot of things in the future, which was navigating our creation, and now we don't have that. So mutual dreaming, I feel like that happens when things clear up and we create space. Like our intuition is now rising, our subconscious, things that were in like layer number 30 in our life.
I think in the same way that, when you remove one of the senses, all the others increase. And we've removed this physical connection that we've had, and we're self-quarantining. I think that's increased our digital, this more mental connection where we are. Certainly for me, I've been connecting much more in that way.
Yeah, for sure.
People are having a lot more time to sleep.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true.
I have not been sleeping very well lately. But and I don't know how many other people, I think a lot of people are struggling to sleep.
I never sleep well, so I have kids. I wake up 2 or 3 times a week. That hasn't changed, but what has changed, because I'm upstate New York right now. We drove out of the city life when this happened. What has changed is how this feels here when I sleep. Even the small pockets of time, I go deep. Like I actually feel like I rested. Whereas near the city, I didn't really feel like I was resting too much, and I'm thawing out, I guess.
I would like to be thawed out.
Also, I recommend that you put ocean waves.
Oh, yeah.
I do that for my kids, and they really go down.
I've just been super in a creative mode. I get wired, I get excited
Oh
to
yeah, you're
Oh,
create.
that's
on.
great.
And I've been having it's so much fun for me, and I've been having a lot of fun doing it. And I know
Yeah,
it's really hard for people, but art is resistance,
it's essential too.
and
To
art keeps us sane. Art keeps us connected.
Mhm.
Art lets us speak and be heard, and to process emotions. And I think it's super helpful. I did have a nightmare. I hadn't had too many nightmares, but I had a really rough one right after dream yoga, which I'm teaching online, by the way. Um, so anyone can come in and join Inner Sense Healing Arts Collective. And it's all donation based, totally free for anyone who wants to join. And so after that night, I had a hard time sleeping. And this was right before I think they closed the streets, or the day they closed the parks, I mean. And it was super hyper real. I was in my apartment, but everything was just a little more cluttered. And outside of my window in the parking lot is this, like, it's a dystopian nightmare, which we're kind of living in. But there are these like military style trucks in the streets, and there's like tents of a bunch of homeless people in this parking lot. And these trucks were collecting the dead and disposing of them through the streets, and they would just go down the streets collecting all of the dead. And then at one point I saw someone, and these military dudes were shooting and shot some people even right in front of my apartment. And then some like young kid rebel hooligans tried entering through my door. And it just felt very invasive, very dystopian, super nightmarish. But the one thing that again, like going back to what I could control in that moment, that I took from the dream, thinking about it, was all of like the chaos involved, and even just the clutter in my space. And surprisingly enough, a week into this, I still hadn't like cleaned my bedroom or hardly done any laundry. And so I finally did that. And like how healing it is to again manage your own space, that I've still been, neglecting. I didn't think I would be so occupied during all of this.
Yeah, you know, when I sense you like intuitively, it's very flowy. Almost like flying around your room doing this and that. That's how I feel about.
I'm an air sign. I'll say
Oh,
it.
okay.
I'm a Gemini sun.
Ah. It's been a long time, I think, since you've tapped into this persona. It's the
Look.
kind of like the one we met, and then you went through this weird phase of becoming really stiff, and now you're back to this like flowy, airy thing, you know?
Yeah, thanks. I I feel that way. A lot of my friends are like, "Who are you these days?"
Yeah.
But it's good. And even a month before this happened, because I've certainly been resisting a lot of the astrology stuff, but hanging around so many like witches and Reiki people and astrology readers and tarot readers.
This is the time.
And I've been doing tarot myself for the past year.
Yeah.
And even like a month before any of this was happening, I was getting like the hermit, and that I needed to be using my voice more. And then all of this happens, and I'm like totally stepping into that.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody's stepping into something. If they really get conscious, or whoever's listening to this, there's something that wants to come out, And it's good to become like a conscious dreamer at this time, because you start to notice what is it that wants to unfold, that wants to enter your life, and follow the little like synchronicities, the little thoughts, like do them. Like if you get a little thought, try to do something about it, like Alejandro did, decluttering his house. But yeah, this is the time to get witchy. I'm totally changing with this. At some point, I got very quiet about some things, some things about myself, and I'm realizing these are my survival instincts. Without the witchy stuff, I can't survive. For me, it's like almost like my intuition has to be active. It has to be on
Mhm.
in order for me to navigate. And I had for a while maybe not listened too much in the past few months. So maybe the whole year, I don't know. Maybe 2019 was when I got a little more rational about things. But now I'm like, I feel like I'm back. That's the thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know there's everyone's doing yoga on Zoom now, including me.
Yeah.
But that people are like, how much easier it is for people to just log on from the comfort of their own homes, and so many people are just offering this, like
Yeah.
how it's become so much more accessible for people
And you
to
hosted
take
a
up
dream
these
circle.
practices. Yeah, we hosted the
Yeah,
Dream Circle.
that I missed because I'm so bad at mathematics
We'll do
and time
another one.
differences. I know.
Yeah,
Well,
we'll have to do our own.
I'm doing one tomorrow, guys.
Oh, really?
Oh,
When?
nice.
Where?
Yeah, tomorrow, London time. I think it's 7:30 p.m. or 7 o'clock London time. I'm gonna have to
Oh,
work this
which
out because I need.
which which will be in the past once people hear this.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
don't go
exactly.
looking
Don't go
for
looking
this.
for it, but I'll send you guys the information.
Okay.
Yeah, the digital dream circles are really cool, and I
Yeah.
think a lot, like so much is changing. Like the world will never be the same, and it's such a precious opportunity to imagine, to create of new ways of moving forward after this.
That's what's happening, Alejandro. You know, when people say when death is near, so to speak, it's not like we're dying or anything, but it makes us appreciate the fact that we don't feel like we don't know if how the what the world situation is going to be tomorrow. It's kind of like a death card in some way,
Mm.
where we're living each day like it's the last day. You know, it's like a weird kind of, at least for me, it's been like, okay, every situation is unique. I like, I'm not getting mad at my kids too much, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Not letting it get on my nerves too much, rather I'm just enjoying them. I find myself just being like, what's the point of yelling? Like, what's the
Yeah.
point?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
there's no
yeah.
point. Go ahead, son. You know, cry it out, or play, or be
Like how much
crazy.
love has been coming out from this.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Love is amplifying, but it's also like hard. So it's too, like you said, a whole spectrum of emotions at the same time, and
Hmm.
ge- I'm sure it gets overwhelming. But
I think it's been so clear that we're all suffering.
yeah,
And like just to acknowledge that and to accept that we're suffering
yeah,
has really made me love people so much harder,
yeah.
Hmm.
because we're all going through this, we're all in this together,
Yep.
and that how important it is to be of service. I found
Hmm.
so much meaning and solitude in making myself to be in service to the people around me in any way that I can.
Hmm.
And even that's just like sending someone a super supportive text, or
Hmm.
giving a friend a shout out, giving someone an ear, giving someone else a call, uh, or even, there's a shortage of medical equipment.
Mm.
And I've seen, and I'm working with my cousin who's
Oh.
3D printing masks and
Mm.
face
Yeah,
shields
that's
to
great.
provide to people. And I've seen people offering to, take groceries for the elderly, for people who are at risk.
But you know what? There's no wrong way of doing this situation. So if you've been frozen and not doing anything or being quiet, you know, not being in service of. It's okay. Like
Absolutely.
you know what I mean? Like whoever can will, and but if you can't, it's okay. Like we are all coping in our own way, and I understand
Mm-hmm.
the people who have been keeping to themselves and gotten quieter. It's okay. You know,
Yeah.
you don't have to be gung ho and
Right.
creative or anything, but you know, let the energy move. Also, let it shift a little bit. Like
Yeah.
try to get out of that
To
a little
feel
bit.
empowered to ask for help if you need it and to reach
Exactly.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, because that's important, and that's a brave action too. And it's helped me to really like encourage myself to cry.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, great.
crying is so helpful. Oh my
You
god.
know,
Yeah.
our hearts are like cloth to be wrung out
Hmm.
after the night's rain and then hung to dry. And if we don't wring out those towels and they stay wet, then they grow heavy, they'll grow moldy, and we can't help a lot. And so if you need the time to wring out, and sometimes it takes a lot of time,
It
but
does. Everybody's doing a different time.
feeling what
Uh-huh.
you are feeling and letting that and knowing that none of the feelings are permanent, that nothing is permanent.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It all will pass, and it does. It does and will pass.
Hmm. I read somewhere spring is happening without us. And I was kind of like, well, in a way, yeah, it's like yes and no. You know, I didn't exactly feel what was said, but I understood where it came from. Like we're all
Yeah,
indoors.
it's true. I've noticed that, because I'm lucky that I'm really close to this amazing Canadian beauty. So I just go out the backyard and can go on a hike and see, mountains and
Mm,
streams. And I'm watching spring up all around me. And I've been
nice.
taking the time to just really, yeah, hey, nature is carrying on without. It's also brought me into more present awareness with being present with nature, and
And
also look.
how sexy is nature right now? I mean, there's nothing sexier than nature right now. Everybody's like, who didn't give a shit is now like, wow, nature.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
It's just so sensual, and it's just right now. It's just like sex.
Springtime, the birds and the bees come out to play.
No, but it's like nature
Stay
has been
inside. Don't go
nature
outside to play.
nature is suddenly being appreciated
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
to
Yeah,
like never before. It's like something is happening. A connection to Mother Earth is happening on a
And
collective
the
level.
earth is getting a chance to breathe.
it
Yeah,
totally
I've
is.
heard that just in a week, like the pollution has gone down in some cities and in different countries in just a week. I mean, if we would kind of apply what we went through right now, once this is over, this whole Corona thing, if we would apply like the whole social distancing and a little bit of quarantining ourselves every once in a while, not using cars, you know what I mean? If we would
Mhm.
actually apply what we went through in a balanced way, obviously, we would really be able to help the planet and all that pollution and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe even help our mental well-being, because a lot of the things in our society, like rushing to 9 to 5 jobs, lots of stress, being stuck in traffic jams, commuting, these things all bring about a high state of anxiety. So a lot of us don't even realize that that's how we function. We function in high anxious states,
We
so
funky. You know, you know what though? What is it? The flight or fight instinct.
Mhm.
It's been activated
Oh
during
yeah.
these 2 weeks. Like I've noticed how some people have gone completely onto their one side of the brain, and other people to the other side of the brain. The left or the right. And Dimitri, my husband, he said that as soon as he felt that instinct, he knew exactly what to do. It's almost like it got very clear where he wanted to go, what he wanted to do, because it's what he always wanted to do.
Mm.
And here we are,
back to
upstate,
nature.
where
Yeah.
he really deep inside always wanted to be. And he said that this came as a really clear, super hyper clear moment to him. And I feel like these moments in our life, that's what they're for. Like I'm sure a lot of people are gonna change careers, quit jobs, um take up different hobbies. It's like this is changing us
Oh,
completely.
totally. I'm
Yeah,
sure you'll
total
see
shakeup.
lots, a big shakeup. You'll see a lot of that after this is lifted. You even probably see a lot of relationships break up, and a lot of things are going to change.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're like, wait, this is one life. I have one life, one chance.
Uh-huh.
I had one chance because you're thinking, I don't know what's going to happen to me, you know? And this is what I did, you know? This is how I lived. Like, no, I don't want to take any more, inauthentic things in my life. Like, you
Yeah.
want to, right now, something really is brewing inside people to be real because this is, they're realizing that they had this life and they didn't take advantage of it. And now when this is over, they're going to, you know?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of hidden benefits, and I know it's atrocious, and I know that a lot of people are really struggling right now.
Oof, can you imagine how many small businesses will have to close and
Yeah,
how many unemployed people I know? I mean, it's really it's going to be like
it's a whole mixed bag of
damn,
things.
yeah.
Hmm.
And so, whatever we're feeling is okay to be feeling because there's so
Yes.
much to be felt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I often think about my work as a death doula, and I haven't really talked about this too much. And I'm kind of planning to do some online death cafes soon when everything
Uh,
just really starts to
Same.
hit everyone. And
you guys should because this is such the moment for that, you know?
yeah, and I really feel like the moment's kind of coming up now because it's accumulative and it's kind of sinking in. It's almost like you get a diagnosis of, hey, you're very ill, you've got cancer. This is the timeline. This is the prognosis. I mean, this is happening, but on a global scale. So collectively, we are going through the 5 stages of grief altogether, and I think that
Yeah.
now more than ever to look at and reflect upon the lessons and the reality of death, not just the symbolic representations of death, which are endings and transformation, but the biological reality of death. And to really sit with that and join together in a positive way to navigate this because it's all around us at the moment, you know?
Yeah. And David Kessler just wrote an article, and David Kessler worked with Elizabeth Kubler-Ross to develop the 5 stages of grief.
Yeah.
And he wrote a brilliant article. Go check him out. You can find it on his Instagram page. But he talked a little bit about the 6th stage of grief,
Yeah.
which is meaning, which is that after acceptance, which is the final stage. And I also want to note that none of the stages of grief have to be linear. You can
Exactly.
be
Yeah.
experiencing any of them at any point for any length of time.
Hmm.
But he said one, that acceptance was where the power lies.
Yeah.
Because when you accept where you're at, you can acknowledge and recognize what it is you need to be doing for yourself, for others. And then after that acceptance, though, is finding meaning
Yeah.
in the suffering. And the meaning for a lot of us, for me certainly, has been like, as we've already talked about, is deeper connection to nature, to our loved ones, to our own selves and our own practices, be them spiritual or physical or mental.
Hmm.
I never thought I would be missing even my family that I would see once a week. Um, from my husband's side, it's like it's terrible to be separated right now. It's terrible.
Mm.
We do it through Zoom, though. We try, and with my family in Peru as well. But yeah, I'm so much more appreciative of my connections and my family and my friends, and um, I'm very grateful to be shown to appreciate them more.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I've been doing tarot for like it's good. I've been still working because I was like, oh no, I've lost all my work
Oh
because
yeah, if you
all
guys
my
want a tarot reading, contact Tree.
yeah. So I've been doing that online through various platforms, and yeah, I've been seeing the same cards getting pulled over and over again. I've pulled the death card. I've pulled the judgment card. Um,
Let's see what we get.
Yeah. Okay, let me shuffle them real good. And it's great with the tarot. It doesn't matter even if you're far away and it's on a Zoom call or Skype. There's still a connectivity. So it's incredible. If when we connect in mind and spirit, it's still there. You don't need to be physically in the same room to have these things come through. Okay, so let's pull a tarot for these times of uncertainty and limbo. Okay. Haha. This is interesting. I pulled the Devil card.
Ooh.
So the Devil card it's the card of restrictions. It's also quite destructive when it comes to obsessions. Addictions as well is a big message of the tarot. The tarot is the devil also, it deals a lot with earthbound energies, ones that are a bit vampiric and narcissistic as well. What can we say about the devil? It's a good time to look at right now of what might be self-destructive behavior within ourselves. During this time of isolation and also being homebound, it could be a really good opportunity to look at the areas in your life where you have any type of addiction. And these vices and addictions could be anything from smoking cigarettes to drinking to addictive behavior. It could be like social media can certainly be addictive.
The news.
What can you let go of?
Yeah, the news.
So also like what good is our material possessions, if we can't enjoy it. So it's almost like I feel like this card for me it's screaming like balance.
Mhm.
Yeah. To I know of
Mhm.
surrendering what doesn't need us, but also being able to indulge in some of
Mhm.
life's pleasures.
Like now it was now you thought what you thought was not enough would now be like a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's Baphomet standing on this pillar. And it's got bat wings and the pentacle. And to the left and to the right are male and female figures. And they have these chains around their neck. But that the chains around their neck are very open and loose.
Mm.
That a lot of the limitations that we think are on us are self-imposed.
Yeah, absolutely. We have the freedom to and the power to walk away from these sort of things. I also see the devil card as it's the card of the shadow. So doing shadow work, looking at our wounded self, all the aspects of ourselves that we feel that we want to squish away into the closet and don't want to look at. I feel like this is the perfect opportunity, especially everyone being stuck in these sort of insular modes, is to really start doing your shadow work and really looking at all the aspects of your shadow that are wanting to come to the light and to be
Yeah.
integrated and let go.
Loved, to be
Loved.
Really
loved.
good time
Yeah.
for shadow work.
Love and acceptance. This is definitely part of integration is to accept and love yourself as you are and meet yourself, greet yourself, the different parts of yourself.
Yeah, and releasing limited beliefs about yourself. So with that being said, like amping up your self-care and your self-love and really looking to nurture yourself and give yourself unconditional love through this time that we're going through. On a greater scale, it feels as though we're dealing a lot with our collective shadow as well, the whole world
Yeah.
moving through this uncertainty, anxiety, fear. Um, and this is a chance to heal as a whole as well, a chance for the collective to heal and a chance for the collective to rise up into a shift of consciousness in a good positive way. And of course, there's opposing forces where we still are navigating tons of fear and uncertainty, and certainly there's a lot of conspiracy theories flying around that people are latching onto, and that are fear-based energies, and just releasing a lot of that. I think the key is to getting back to your internal and to your source. So it's connecting to that spirit of love that we are all within us, which takes a shift of your perspective and your consciousness. So you're not focusing on the external anymore. So you're not catching up on the latest conspiracy theory, what's going on in the news, and feeding that and arguing with people on Facebook, going, it's pulling away from that, and almost like, logging out of those devices, and getting back into that connection to source. So that could be bringing yourself into states of meditation, quiet times with self, and really pulling away from what's going on with the fear-based stuff.
And this is the first time people are getting to know themselves in a different way. And I almost feel like if you think of yourself of where you would like to be in, let's say, a year, what feelings do you have from that? And what is keeping you from being that now, today? Like, I feel like it's a great time to just feel yourself out. Like what you could really see your life almost like a movie. Now we have so much time to see it from a different perspective, because we are in a new perspective, and it's good to view things when you have shifted.
Yeah. In the dream circle, there was a woman who had that dream. And one of the questions that came about when we were discussing it was, how are you nurturing yourself? And, that includes what we're eating. I've certainly been eating a lot better because I've just gone grocery shopping and not been eating out as much, cooking at home more. That involves like like you've been talking about, the information that we're taking in on the internet. That involves our practices. How are you nurturing yourself?
And I haven't been, usually I eat all day. I'm just like a eat kind of person. Here I've just been breakfast, lunch, and dinner. No real snacking. I've noticed that my focus is not on food. I feed myself, and I feel great after I eat, and I don't need to stress eat like I used to. Like this would be the time I should be stress eating, and I'm not. It's the opposite is happening. I'm just in a different mode.
Yeah, it's a really great time to take on a challenge if you want to shift up some bad habits. And this is the devil card definitely points towards habits. It could be bad habits that are destructive in ways for our health. Like it could be eating bad, eating not very healthily, or smoking tons, or whatever it is. And it could be negative thought patterns. So it's a really great time right now to look at how to transcend all of that. Set yourself some goals. If you're a smoker, to cut down your smoking, or just to quit cold turkey, however you want to do it. But these are the type of things that the devil card really bring into the light.
Thank you all so much for joining us in another episode of The Dream Freaks. We love making these for you. If you want to support us, you can hop over to our Patreon, where for as little as $1 a month, you can support us creating, editing, producing this content for you, and we can reward you with all kinds of things, such as recordings of brainstorming sessions, Q&A, personal, private interpretation of your own dreams, merch. Check it out. Thank you so much. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, follow. Have a good night. Sweet dreams.